Jon Bon Jovi, thank you so much
For
joining
you.
us this morning.
Happy to be here.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
3 years. But a lot has gone on in that 3 years, hasn't it?
I guess so. I needed to take the time.
Mm.
There'd been a lot that we'd been through in the last 3 years, and it was okay. I couldn't have made the record any sooner.
Yeah.
So, now it's up to the world to judge if they like it, but, having it behind me and sharing it with everybody, I couldn't have done it any sooner.
Well, I'm so grateful because it's not out until the 21st of October, but you have let me listen to it for the last 24 hours. This house is not for sale. And I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Every song is a complete banger with an amazing hook. But what's really interesting to me, though, is that some of the tracks, I would say, are probably among your most personal yet. And you've definitely poured your soul out. So is there an element of being a bit nervous about that level of vulnerability?
I think that's a fair statement. You write from a certain place and you present this chapter in your life. It's been finished. The songs have been written, and so that's what I mean by finished, for quite a while. I mean, I'd had This House Is Not For Sale for a year, and it just needed to be mixed and tweaked. But not knowing the reaction to it, you just sort of keep writing, not out of fear, and not out of complete satisfaction. It's sort of just, I have more to say, I have more to say, I have more to say, until you get to that place where you say, well, I've said it all, and now, okay. Because there is no fear or joy in it. It's just, I'm tired here, and now it's a very interesting place to be.
But there must have been a bit of a build-up because you actually took, I think, over a year off writing at all.
Oh, yeah.
And was that just to get yourself in a place where you were ready?
I would say it is not unusual to take a long period after a tour. The way we tour, and you stay out for a year at a time, the body needs to crash, to be honest with you. And then you rebuild brain cells and you function in a real world. This time it was obviously more difficult in light of everything we'd been through. So the first year, my focus was also on other things. In 2015, in January, I started to at least look at the guitar like a lover that I was mad at, but at least willing to acknowledge from across the room and give a little nod. And I was still being given the cold shoulder, and then I'd give a wink, and then I'd get the cold shoulder, but a little head, until we finally talked.
Well, my favourite song on the album is actually a bit of a love song for the guitar.
Yeah, Scars on This Guitar. Well, and there you go.
Because she is always there for you.
Yeah. Well, that is the truth. I always consider that the guitar, for me, holds all the secrets to my life. It's just that sometimes I've got to pull it out of her, or she's got to pull it out of me. And in this case, you sat down and said, she's given me her best when I am at my worst. And that's really, what it's about.
And as you refer to, there have been changes over the last 3 years to Bon Jovi. Richie Sambora no longer in the band. What sort of place are you in now with him?
I'm completely fine. Just to be 100% clear again, as I've been for 3 years, there was never a fight. This was never about money. That's nonsense with the media. One day he just chose not to come back to work. And I mean, that's literal. That's a fact. It was in Calgary. We were playing. Show was sold out. Album was entering the charts that week at #1 in America. Couldn't have been better. And he didn't come back to work again. And so we, as a band or as individuals, never saw him again. And so, fortunately, the guy that had filled in for him the last time he was in a rehab was available. And so it was an unfortunate situation that shocked everybody.
But what's interesting to me is that you feel like this has brought the band closer together.
Well, it had to. There's no ill will towards Richie's leaving. In truth, I make it very clear, being in a rock band is not a life sentence. You choose not to share your art anymore in this forum. I understand it completely. The way he did it wasn't great for the 100+ people that work for us and their families that depend on us, or the band, or me. But I don't hold any ill will towards him for doing it. It's just the way they did it. Anyhow, you know, you move on. And so the band on stage had to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Phil Exonides, who joined, you know, the band, is you know, his temporary fill-in and has been here ever since. God bless him. You know, he had to introduce himself to a world, and then in the writing process, you know, he wasn't going to be in the record making, so everybody had to come and step up again.
I mean, do you have sympathy for that whole idea, though, of balancing this really busy, crazy life on the road with having a family life?
Definitely, without question. It's I
Something you
lead
have
that
to do,
charge.
obviously, yeah.
You know, I lead that charge. Absolutely, positively, yeah.
And how do you maintain that balance?
Well,
because you are a family man, obviously.
Most
as well as
definitely.
being a rock star.
Well, it's my job, right? It's not who I am; it's what I do. Believe me, it's totally understood within the organization. We are not the journeymen we were in the 80s and the 90s. The last tour was less than half of the tours we used to do. So that's really not a great excuse. And this forthcoming tour will be even more precise.
And there is one gig this year in Europe. It's going to be at the London Palladium, which is a really interesting venue to choose. And you're going to debut the songs from the album.
Yeah. We've never performed an album in its entirety and presented it as our offering, you know, our art, our gift, or whatever. And so we're doing 4 shows. New Jersey, of course, New York City, Toronto, and London. And we're just going to perform the album in its entirety and say, here's all the work that we've put in.
You've got to get me a ticket to that.
You're welcome, yes. Sure.
Now, I have to say, you were 54 years old and looking about my age, which is very
64?
depressing. Well, I know I do look that old, sadly. No, looking in your 30s, I have to ask, what is your secret?
I have no secrets. I
You
got up
must.
an hour ago. No.
I do not believe it. You have the best hair in the industry.
I still have hair.
particular.
It's mine.
I know. Which is
It's
particularly
It's
depressing
gone
to me.
gray.
Yeah,
I don't mind
you've
embracing
let
that.
it go on grey naturally, then.
Yeah, I never was gonna pretend to be something I wasn't. When I was 25, I used to say, I'm never gonna write bitch on my belly and paint my fingernails black. You know, it wasn't me. And embrace it or don't, I have nothing to say about that. But embrace it and be who you are.
But you must have some sort of lifestyle regime. I mean, do you work out a lot, or do you eat healthily?
I wouldn't say, you know, yes, I work out, sure. Not in the way I used to. I'm changing things up. And eating, no. I'm looking at those cookies and cakes over there right now, over your shoulder. So,
You love them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now, I have to ask about the amazing gig that you played at Kensington Palace.
Yes.
For Prince William.
Yes.
And your family, and you got to hang out with the Prince a little bit.
Yes.
Is he a fan of rock and roll, do you know?
I think so. I mean, he certainly knows all the words to Live It on a Prayer. That's how this whole conversation began. I read in the paper that he, in fact, was singing at a karaoke at a party, and I thought, this is neat. And then when I got that opportunity to go there and perform for his mom's charity that he's supporting, and was able to bring my family over. And then the way that the room was set up, by happenstance, we were just secured in a corner the whole evening, just he and I, through the dinner and stuff. And I really enjoyed his company. He's a wonderful young man, and I was thinking about it. I've been lucky enough to have met his dad, his grandmother, his grandfather, you know, his uncles, his former aunt. So I met a lot of the family over the years for an American. It's not bad.
No, it definitely is.
I'm a fan. He's wonderful.
And he was loving the music that night, wasn't he?
Oh, I think so. I mean, look, he didn't hesitate to jump up on stage and sing. And believe me, he sang out. He sang, and he knew the words, and I was quite pleased. It was wonderful.
Living on a Prayer is now one of the most iconic songs of all time. And I wanted to know, Tommy and Gina, do you ever think, where would they be in 2016?
Well, I'd like to think that they're still together. You know, I guess at this point they'd probably have grandkids, you know. And if it's based off of what my version, because remember I co-wrote that song. I didn't write that one solely, I co-wrote it. So my portion of the character makeup was based on two kids that I knew that sacrificed a lot to get married young. They are still together, they have kids. I don't know if they have grandkids. But I'd like to think that that same blue collar thing worked out for them.
Well, look, This House Is Not For Sale is an incredible album full of brand new Bon Jovi anthems. Out, I believe, on the 21st of October.
Yeah.
But the single before that.
And the single's on the air now, yeah. Thank you.
Amazing.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for joining us this morning.
I'll see you on the 10th. You got a ticket.
I will be there, yes!
If you'd like to see even more great guests, then click here. There are plenty more fantastic interviews to come, so make sure that you subscribe.